Hi, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jon Busch with Leviton. We have with us here as well Charles Knuffke with Wattstopper, as well as Jon Zelinsky from Procino Energy. And today we're coming together to discuss specifically plug load control or receptacle controls, and possibly even consider how demand response might be brought into that equation. We're all members of what's called the California Energy Alliance, and which is a member-based organization. We work together to improve California energy future and the migration towards a zero net energy horizon. Also, the Alliance focuses on the promotion and realization of deep energy savings, sustainable energy generation, and integration. And as I mentioned, we're here to talk about today specifically is receptacle controls. And there's a lot of opinions about receptacle controls. A lot of people feel, well, who's going to tell me what I need to control or what I don't need to control? But ultimately, we're here to discuss the benefits and does it even make sense? And I guess that's a great place to start. Charles, can you give us some insight on why plug load control?
Absolutely, John. So if you think about it, really the question is why not? In the energy controls business, what you're looking for are the bigger loads. And lighting for years was the biggest load that we would go after on the electrical side of the fence. Lighting represented 30 to 40% of the total lighting, total power used in a building. But over the years, especially with the LED advance, now all of a sudden you've got lighting loads that are less than 10% sometimes on a project. So as a result, plug load has become an obvious load control. It started out in the ASHRAE code in 2010. California picked it up in the 2013 code and really pushed it forward. And additionally, what's been going on the design side is lighting power densities have reduced for ambient lighting, but one of the givebacks is to allow increases for task lighting. And really with plug load controls, this is the way that most of those task lights are controlled now. So we just think that why plug load control is because it makes sense for the overall energy consumption of the building.
Again, I appreciate the fact that you brought up the overall energy consumption of the building, but I think one of the misconceptions is that everything has to be plug load control, or you have to have plug load control everywhere. And I think as we'll go into this discussion and realize it's only really 5 areas that require mandatory plug load control. John, can you give us some insight maybe on some of the devices we might want to or that might benefit from plug load control?
Sure. If you look at your office today, think about all the different things that you're plugging in, right? So in that receptacle today, there's lots of different things that are competing for that space. So people are plugging in computers, which there's a trend to go from desktop computers to laptop computers. You might have other monitors, you might have a printer, you might have other charging devices for personal devices such as your phone, tablet. But the tendency is more. So more and more things are being put into the plug load. So as buildings become more energy efficient, the plug load becomes more relative to the discussion to save energy. So, in fact, there are other things such as fans and even space heaters sometimes that get put in these things. So when you think about that from a demand management perspective, there's a pretty high load at these individual places. And what we want to do is we want to give those occupants and those business owners a choice to be able to manage and be able to take advantage of other savings and other types of programs by having the plug load controls connected to the demand management side.
I appreciate that term you use there, the ability, the choice, the ability to make that decision, because the thing to truly understand the idea behind plug load control, what it is a controlled receptacle within 6 feet of each non-controlled receptacle, with the idea that most devices come with a 6-foot cord. So really what it's doing is not forcing you to plug in this or that. It's really giving you the option. Do you want to plug it into a controlled receptacle or do you not? Now, Charles, a lot of people oftentimes get overwhelmed by, all of the additional cost implications of controlled receptacle, or wow, the technology that's needed to do that. Can you give us some insight? Where have we as an industry arrived? Have we gotten to the point where it's really not that big of an add to a project?
John, if you take a look at the lighting controls that have been around for years, most of those have moved pretty seamlessly over to plug load control as well. So in the past, we had occupancy sensors that were talking to power packs. If you've got a power pack that's rated for plug load control, you could use that same occupancy sensor to control the lights and the plug load control in a space. If you've got a smarter system, which is typically what you would have on a demand response project, then all of a sudden now you've got a room controller that's controlling the plug load and taking information in from an occupancy sensor. And also networked out rooms or to any front end that the owner might have. The relay panels that people have had for years, those are oftentimes being repurposed as well because it's just an on and off load. It's perfectly good for 120 volts and it now can be doing time of day. About the only thing that might be eliminated in this proposal is there are some devices that have got integral timers or integral occupancy sensors, not really widespreadly used, but they do show up occasionally. Those would be a little difficult to include as part of a demand response, but all the others really are ideal. And so you've already got the capability. The code proposal that's being made by CEA is just to be able to link those two together. If you've got a space that requires plug load control and the project requires demand response, why not make those plug load controls available to the demand response system as well?
Yep, and as part of our research, we talked to multiple manufacturers about what the actual cost would be. And it was as little as no cost to very small cost to be able to link the receptacle controls to an existing building management system or a lighting system in the space. So the overall cost adder to a project is negligible. But the savings driven from that are huge.
I think that's the key to what you both just shared. You know, number one, how is it accomplished? Well, you know, with not much more than we're already using to do lighting control. We're using the same systems, really maybe just adding one component or so. And then as you pointed out, John, well, you know, now that we have the demand response requirements and we also have the controlled receptacle already integrated into the mandatory requirements, why not integrate them all together? You know, in closing, Charles, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we've covered it pretty well. I'd say that the only other item maybe is just to be clear that we're not talking about every space in a building. We're talking about 5 specific spaces. We're talking about office areas, copy rooms, conference rooms. We're talking about lobby areas. And we're talking about kitchens in office areas. So it's a small group of spaces that are being required to have this already. And so those are the spaces that we're trying to bring into the demand response system should the owner look to be able to do that.
There you go. How about you, John? Anything to add?
I just want to talk about the economic benefits, right? So there was a study done back in 2008 where they said in California alone, they used 3,000 gigawatt hours of plug load controls at the time, costing California $400 million. That was back in 2008. So since plug load has increased since then, now all of a sudden, this now becomes a business case that you're enabling those business owners and those occupants of these spaces to make a business decision, right? So it's having the capabilities of doing things smarter, more efficient, and drop that money to their bottom line. So with the systems already in place, it's just a more intelligent building.
I appreciate that. The more intelligent, you know, not to say people aren't intelligent or they don't understand, but sometimes when confronted with the possibility of an additional cost, you know, oftentimes people push back without understanding the full benefits really that are rendered at very little cost. So, you know, as a whole, why plug load control? Well, I appreciate what you said, Charles. Why not? Why not? It's something that makes sense. I mean, we have loads that don't need to be on all the time. Again, they aren't dictated. You get to make your decision. As you pointed out, John, the receptacles, well, they are connected to devices or devices are connected to them. And it really gives you the ability to make those decisions. You know, you hope that people don't plug in things that they don't need, but let's be realistic. Sometimes they do. And sometimes then it gives us the opportunity or the benefit of having the ability to automatically shut those off. Charles, as you pointed out, it's really not a big add. We're not asking for a whole lot. We're merely adding a couple of components to the system, and we're allowing it then to do above and beyond what it's currently doing. the idea above and beyond, as you both pointed out, was it's really not above and beyond. It's already there. We're merely adding one more step to the process and benefiting in the long run. As you pointed out, John, there's tremendous cost implications down the line. And as we continue to learn what devices make sense to be plugged into controlled receptacles, we can then continue to benefit. We're just looking to now begin integrating that into the process of the decision making, and really in some ways re-educating the industry. So again, those of you that tuned into this, we appreciate the opportunity. You know, the exciting thing about it, this is really what our meetings even look like. Our meetings at the California Energy Alliance are really this. We get to sit around and discuss things like that, get different perspectives. That way, when we do move forward with a certain position on something, it is a well thought out, well discussed, because it's just unbelievable the level of experience we have within our organization. So again, we are all together for a common good, and we look forward to the next topic that we can spend some time with all of you on. So have a great day. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.